This morning, a martial arts instructor charged over the deaths of 3 people, including a 7-year-old in Sydney's northwest. Victoria on alert, total fire bans as the state braces for more severe weather. Queensland manhunts after a family is held captive at knife point during a violent home invasion. The last bid for Julian Assange to avoid extradition to the US. And Taylor Swift in Sydney's west as Travis Kelce prepares to land down under.
This is 9 News with Alex Cullen.
Good morning and welcome to 9 News Early. A martial arts instructor has been charged with murder over the deaths of 3 people, including a 7-year-old boy in Sydney's northwest. For the latest, let's bring in Jack Hahn, who joins us on the phone right now. Good morning, Jack. It's understood he still remains in hospital.
Yeah, that is correct, and it's exactly where he'll be attending a bedside court hearing later today over these 3 charges of murder. He was formally charged by detectives about 9 o'clock last night. Let's step through the timeline now and what police will allege. So it is going to be alleged in court that the 49-year-old strangled a boy who was one of his students along with a woman Monday evening. Then the CCTV that police have obtained shows him driving to a home in Baulkham Hills. It will then be alleged that's where he stabbed the woman's husband to death. Yu later admitted himself to hospital with wounds, claiming that he was attacked outside a shop in North Parramatta. But after some detective work, police have established this chain of events. Let's hear now from the lead detective.
What we will allege is that the 49-year-old's the only person responsible, and we'll allege that he was responsible for the murder of all 3 victims. Anything that involves a child being murdered it's tragic, and you wonder why.
So one thing that is not public knowledge yet is the motive, and as this case plays out in court, we will learn more. Alex.
Jack, thank you. Victorians are bracing for more extreme weather today with a total fire ban covering most of the state. Melbourne is expected to hit 38 degrees, the hottest day so far this summer, while the mercury at Mildura will reach 43. The hot weather comes as around 1,200 AusNet customers remain without power, which is expected to come back online today.
Winds and hot air and dry air as well, with relative humidity getting down to 10 to 20%, ticks all the boxes for a bad fire weather day.
Thunderstorms are expected to hit most parts of Victoria from tomorrow afternoon. Queensland Police are investigating a multi-vehicle crash north of Brisbane after what's believed to be a hit and run. Officers were called to the scene in Cullen just before 8 o'clock last night, where they found damage to a semi-trailer and Toyota. Police urge anyone with information to come forwards. With night 1 of Taylor Swift's Sydney concerts to kick off tomorrow, the weather forecast has other plans. Predicted to be a wet night, the Bureau has reported an 80% chance of rain and thunderstorms. However, Transport for New South Wales has assured the show will go on, with extra and spare transport at the ready for concert goers. A manhunt is underway after a Queensland family were held captive at knife point during a violent home invasion. 2 men storming the home in Logan, traumatising the victims inside.
He just said, "You're going to die." I was in the upstairs study just working and I heard a commotion downstairs. I went to the top of the stairs and was confronted with a masked man holding a very large knife. The knife was to my chest, facing up to my neck, and he said, "You're going to die." I then said, "What do you want? I'll give you whatever you want," and gave him my wallet with all the contents.
Stealing wallets, phones and cash, police were at the scene 5 minutes after the wanted thieves fled in a getaway car. A busy road in Sydney southwest turned into a sea of glass after a truck collided with 2 cars. Luckily, no serious injuries were reported as the truck carrying the sheets of glass turned into oncoming traffic. Surrounding roads were closed for hours as authorities cleaned up that shattered glass. Woolworths CEO Brad Banducci has checked out for good, claiming he hasn't managed to dodge every bullet in the top job, announcing his resignation just 2 days after a disastrous interview on the ABC.
Brad Banducci had to go. He was a victim of his own success. He made them so profitable that he couldn't really be presented by Woolworths at a public inquiry into their profits, claiming their profits have been moderate.
Businesses like Coles and Woolies have been using pricing strategies to confuse customers and to use the cover of inflation to rise prices way higher than they should be.
Amanda Bardwell, the current head of Woolies Loyalty and E-commerce, will take over as CEO in September. Lawyers for the United States have urged a London court to block a last-ditch bid by WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange to be extradited to America. Live to Europe correspondent Edward Godfrey. Good morning, Edward. The US is arguing Assange put lives at risk.
Yeah, it is, Alex. This was the second and final day of the hearing in London's High Court, and Julian Assange now faces an anxious wait. It's his final bid to bring an appeal against extradition to the United States, where he's facing espionage charges. It's over the publication of classified and military documents relating to the conflicts in Afghanistan and Iraq. The 52-year-old's lawyers had claimed the charges are politically motivated and he was targeted for exposing state crimes. Lawyers for the US government today refuted that, arguing his prosecution is based on the rule of law, saying what Assange is accused of might be unprecedented, but what he did was unprecedented. Australian MP Andrew Wilkie, who was at the hearing and is backing Assange, spoke outside court saying enough is enough.
How much is enough? This is the afternoon where this parliament takes a stand and says enough is enough, and that we call on the US, we call on the UK to let him out of prison, drop the charges, let him be rejoined with his family.
At the conclusion of the hearing, the two judges presiding said they will hand down their judgment at a later date. That's not expected for some days, Alex. If Assange is unsuccessful, he could be on a flight to the United States very soon after that.
All right. Edward, thank you. A Brisbane man has been shot at in a drive-by shooting after he went to check on his car in Narangba. A white Commodore was seen pacing up and down the street moments before allegedly smashing the 43-year-old's car. He suffered wounds to his hand. Detectives now investigating whether the victim was targeted. The alleged mastermind of the Medibank hack, Australia's worst cyber attack, has reportedly been detained by Russian authorities. It comes less than a month after Alexander Ermakov was named by the Albanese government as the accused perpetrator. The Australian Federal Police say they're aware a Russian individual has been detained on cyber crimes and say they're continuing to investigate. Melbourne Football Club is adamant it does not have a toxic culture after Joel Smith was hit with 4 new anti-doping violations. Smith is accused of offering cocaine to his teammates, but his captain wouldn't accept the suggestion the team has an issue with drugs.
We're naive to think that doesn't happen in society. I get we're a high-level performing industry and we'd love zero. But until I get told that we have an issue or I can see the issue myself with my own eyes, I can only go off face value.
Victoria Police have confirmed they are also investigating the incidents involving Smith. A meeting will be held today between Queensland Premier Stephen Miles and the state's Police Minister to establish a recruitment process for Commissioner Carroll's replacement. This just 2 days after Carroll announced her resignation, leaving some to speculate on why. It's been suggested senior officers revolted against her, taking advantage of her gender. Personal information from 230,000 Australians has been breached. Tangerine Telecom, now the latest to be attacked by a data hack. Names, phone numbers, emails and addresses of customers disclosed. The company notified affected customers, assuring them no bank details or passwords were released. Snowtown bodies in the barrels accomplice Mark Hayden will be let out of prison on parole ahead of his sentence ending in May. The 65-year-old will be moved to a pre-release centre which he can leave with permission, but is subject to parole conditions, including a curfew and an ankle monitor. Legislation to change the definition of a high-risk offender is expected to pass today. As Cyclone Lincoln continues to close in on Western Australia's north coast, residents have begun sandbagging and preparing for the worst. WA pilots have also been forced to suspend their strikes over the weekend due to fears they will be needed to crew emergency evacuation planes. Experts predict the tropical low to make landfall by Saturday and likely hit as a Category 2. New data has revealed more than 80% of patients who went to New South Wales emergency departments could have been treated elsewhere. 3 million people presented to EDs in the last financial year, and according to the Australian Institute of Health and Welfare, 2.5 million could have gone to a different setting. Almost 1.5 million patients were admitted for less serious issues, such as a sprained ankle and rashes. Taylor Swift has been spotted playing the part of a perfect tourist, the superstar visiting some of Australia's furry friends at Sydney Zoo in the city's west. Taylor stepping behind the camera to take some happy snaps as she was joined by several of her bandmates and dancers ahead of her sold-out concerts in Sydney this weekend. Today's top sports stories. Tim David Boundary has sealed a famous Australian victory over New Zealand, winning the first T20 in a pulsating final ball thriller. A half century from Mitch Marsh put victory in sight for the Aussies, chasing 216, but it was David who needed to deliver in the moment of need.
4 needed from the final Tim Southey delivery. Swung away in the gap. Oh! Australia went off the final ball. Can you believe it?
That is unbelievable.
David finishing unbeaten on 31 of 10 balls to deliver the highest ever successful T20 chase at Wellington Stadium. Matilda's goalkeeper Mackenzie Arnold believes the whirlwind last 12 months have only made her stronger on the field, reunited with the Australian teammates after missing the Canada friendlies through injury.
I think as a player I've grown a lot in my confidence, in my belief, and I just sort of feel like I belong now, and it's always nice being back with the girls.
Arnold is expected to reclaim the starting keeper spot in Saturday's first Olympic qualifier against Uzbekistan in Tashkent. Taking a look at the weather across the country, Brisbane mostly sunny and a top of 32 today. Sydney 29 and partly cloudy. Canberra cloud clearing to a top of 31. Melbourne a warm top of 38, cooling down by this afternoon. Hobart 36 today, partly cloudy. Adelaide sunny, 33 degrees. Perth 34 the top and sunny. Darwin 33 and a possible storm. Straight ahead on 9 News Early, the moment it all goes wrong for this cement truck tipping on a Sydney road. Plus an update on the investigation into missing Victorian mum Samantha Murphy. And it's happening. Travis Kelce is on his way down under. We'll tell you where he's heading next. Welcome back to 9 News Early. A South Sydney man has been stabbed after an altercation with another man in Newtown. The 49-year-old suffered injuries to his chest and leg before being taken to hospital. The other man, also in his 40s, suffered a hand injury. A crime scene has been set up at the scene. Now to heart-stopping vision of the moment a cement truck loses control on a corner at Hurlston Park in Sydney's inner west. CCTV capturing the moment a truck rolls onto its side, smashing into a power pole, causing it to wobble and some lines to fall. The driver was treated for minor injuries at the scene. More than a dozen detectives from a specialist squad have now been assigned to finding missing Ballarat mum Samantha Murphy. As we enter day 18 since she vanished on her morning jog, the Ballarat community continues to remain hopeful for the mother of three's return. Jury selection is underway this morning in New Mexico for the trial of Rust Armourer in the fatal on-set shooting of cinematographer Helena Hutchins. Hutchins was killed during the filming of the movie after a gun held by actor and producer Alec Baldwin went off during a rehearsal in 2021. Hannah Gutierrez-Reed faces up to 3 years in prison if convicted. Preparations for the Sydney Royal Easter Show are already underway and there's been some extra helping hands on deck. A special group of children given a very big job testing this year's show bags, and it's safe to say they've been given a tick of approval.
The rush before the sugar rush. 38 kid connoisseurs from our children's hospitals and Camp Quality welcomed to Olympic Park on a very important mission.
3, 2, 1.
There to sample this year's show bags for the Royal Easter Show.
There you go! That's all yours now.
All 403 of them, the most ever.
A Whiz Fizz, Call of Duty and New South Wales footy team.
Like true professionals, products were tried.
Okay, I don't like that.
And tested.
I'm getting this all for me. I love candy.
The hauls
I can just drag it.
Were huge.
The girl told us, oh, you take a little extra because there's just stuff.
A little extra? Hang on a second.
He went for it.
This year's top 10 show bags feature new and familiar favourites, including the Combank Matildas bag, Hot Wheels, even a show bag for your pet dog, ranging between $20 and $30. And if it's value you're after, not to worry, there are 89 options under $10.
What's in this year when it comes to show bags?
Look, certainly the basketball, the NBA basketball is going to be huge. We've got a whole suite of show bags around basketball. The chocolate, jam-packed this year, lots of value.
If today's haul is anything to go by, these show bags seem to be a smashing hit. And in just 1 month's time, it will be the public's turn to bag their own.
For these special kids, not only were their goodies free, they all came with a smile. In Homebush, James Wilson, 9 News.
Flight delays and cancellations at Sydney Airport could soon be eased as a series of reforms are introduced. Transport Minister Catherine King is welcoming recommendations, including more flights per hour and for airlines to justify reasons for cancellations and delays. The changes do not mean an increase to flights or greater noise. So, after weeks of speculation, it's happening. Travis Kelce is right now on board a private jet bound for Australia to see his girlfriend Taylor Swift. He's expected to land today, with reports the jet is expecting to land at around 8:30 a.m. in Sydney. It comes as the Kansas City Chiefs player was spotted in Vegas playing golf. Still to come on 9 News Early. All of the day's sports news. Captain Courageous. Mitch Marsh stands tall in Australia's moment of need. Plus, the Sharks enforcer reduced to tears when making a big decision about his future. And the sun sets on a very promising day of testing for an Aussie Formula One star. Welcome back to 9 News Early. Our top stories direct from the 9 Newsroom this Thursday. Charges have been laid against a martial arts instructor after 3 people, including a 7-year-old boy, were found dead in Sydney's northwest. Victoria is bracing for extreme weather with a total fire ban issued for most of Victoria today. And a manhunt is underway in Queensland after a family were held at knife point in a violent home invasion. T20 skipper Mitch Marsh has anchored a brilliant chase to lift Australia to a 6-wicket victory over New Zealand as the Black Caps romped to 215, losing just 3 wickets. David Warner and Travis Head offered little resistance, leaving Marsh to steady the ship. The skipper belting 72 off 44, giving rising star Tim David the chance to seal the win with a 4 off the last ball. Braden Hamlin-Uele is going nowhere, agreeing to a 2-year extension with the Sharks, locking down his immediate future. The forward had interest from other clubs, including the Warriors, but says he knew he was meant to stay in Cronulla when the thought of telling his teammates he was going to leave reduced him to tears. The Australian Sail GP crew are desperate to get their first win of the season here in Sydney this week, so they've gone to extreme lengths to help get them over the line. Instructors from the Royal Australian Navy putting Tom Slingsby and his crew through their paces at Bondi Beach with a gruelling workout, and they even invited their rivals along too. The teams getting one final look at each other before this weekend's Grand Prix on Sydney Harbour. Formula One fans know the danger of getting too excited about pre-season testing, but given Daniel Ricciardo has just clocked a top 4 finish in Bahrain, it's hard not to. The Aussie RB Honda driver finishing behind reigning world champion Max Verstappen Lando Norris and Carlos Sainz on day one, but there is still plenty of room for improvements, with teams rolling out mass modifications over the next couple of days. Stay with us. Today's coming up right after the weather. Great. Looking at the weather right now, starting with the satellite, showers and isolated thunderstorms over most of Queensland. Showers also looming over the east coast of New South Wales. Ex-tropical cyclone Lincoln currently off the WA north coast and may develop into a tropical cyclone again tonight, Category 2. Around the country today, Brisbane mostly sunny and a top of 32. Sydney 29 and partly cloudy. Canberra cloud clearing to a top of 31 today. Melbourne a warm top of 38, cooling down by this afternoon. Hobart 36, partly cloudy today. Adelaide sunny and 33. 34 the top in Perth and sunny. Darwin 33 and a possible storm. And that is 9 News early for this Thursday. I'm Alex Cullen. Thank you for your company.